Hey, how you doing? It's Mel Aclaro with the Screencasting Wizard, helping you digitize your knowledge to get it online and web ready. My hat tip to Haley Vetris, to Rochelle, to Ted Wynn for putting on a great social media summit here in Orange County last Saturday. This past weekend was fantastic. We had a lot of great speakers lined up. I sat on a panel towards the end of the day, and one of the things I did touch on that I wanted to share with you as well was just some of the ideas about influence. So when you're creating your screencast with the idea of actually influencing people to watch or to take action on some of the things that you're pointing out in the content that you develop for your followers and your visitors and so on, if you think about some of the people that have influence on you in your life, you know, that really you've allowed to have influence. Some of these folks might be mentors of yours, or they might be teachers or any along those lines. Might be even a spouse or a brother or a sibling or something along those lines. And you think about it, there are actually 6 factors that actually contribute to how that person has influence on you. And those 6 things I shared with the summit folks was basically around the ideas of reciprocity, factors or characteristics about consistency, and also social proof. 4th, likability, authority, and also scarcity. So let's take likability really quick. So if you think about some of the people that have influence on you, well, first and foremost, you got to like them, right? So the idea is if you don't like these folks, they're not likely to have any influence on you. Authority is another one as well, and that's probably something where you just got to know what you're talking about. So when you pick your content, obviously, hopefully, you're picking content that you have some personal expertise in. And many of the folks that come to my blog site, come to this site, are people that have worked many years or decades in the corporate world and now approaching retirement, and they have all this built up knowledge in their head and they want to do something with it, if nothing else, if not even to monetize it, then to get the information out to the world so younger folks and maybe other people in other industries can share in some of the knowledge that they have. So that's authority. So hopefully you're picking a niche in a knowledge subject, a topic that you know something about. So there's authority there. The other thing too is if we talk about consistency. So we all fall into that situation whenever we're writing or we're creating, even if you're writing a personal diary, or blogging is big on that, right? Just so the idea of consistency. I get asked a lot, is it frequency? I mean, how frequently do I need to be writing a blog post? And many of us actually would say that it's not so much about frequency as it is about consistency. Some people are great writing 1 or 2 blog posts a day, and they can keep up with that. They can be consistent with that. But even if your pace is maybe once a week, or maybe once even every 2 weeks or whatever, some people like to write essays once a month. I would say just as long as you're maintaining that consistency and your readers get comfortable and get used to you writing your content that way, that becomes important as well. So we talked about likability, we talked about authority and consistency. Now there's also the idea of reciprocity. Reciprocity is basically the idea that when you look at how people are contributing content online, are they reciprocating? So when you see someone do something good for one person, does that person who was a recipient of those good works, do they do anything in return for that other individual, or maybe to even pay it forward? So the idea of reciprocity into the community of everyone that's contributing good works and helping everybody out, helping out other people, are they contributing and are they reciprocating in that world? So those are some of the things that also have influence in our lives as well. And then there's the idea of social proof. Obviously, if there's buzz around any one particular individual or a group of individuals, that kind of gives them some social proof about that. So that means that there are some things about that individual or a group of people that other people obviously find some value in, that they're giving validation to that. That's kind of called social proof. So sometimes we tend to be influenced by that as well. And then the final thing is also scarcity. That's the 6th thing. So the idea of scarcity is just we're influenced by people when their time when we can't easily get access to them. So when they have time to give and they're making themselves available for a certain window of time, sometimes and you can only access them during that time. That gives them some scarcity. scarcity as well. So that tends to have some influence there. And none of these things are bad. Where they do become bad, if you've ever read the works of Robert Cialdini, that's where I'm kind of channeling a lot of this information from. There's a book called The Psychological Factors of Influence. The way I would actually read that book is actually to start at the end. So pick the last chapter or the last section of the book, read that, because he summarizes all of those points and actually makes some interesting points about that. That because we are such in such an information overloaded world, we actually rely on these 6 factors as like our shortcuts to allow ourselves to let other people influence us in a way that we are allowing them to filter some of the information in the world for us. If we allow people to influence us based on these 6 factors, and we find out that actually someone is gaming the system because they're adopting, maybe they're creating a social proof by virtue of some fraud or some fraudulent activity, and that they don't really have authority, maybe they're just kind of lying their way through, then that's when it becomes bad. And Cialdini would actually say that we should want to rail against these people whenever we see something like that happen. If they're being disingenuous with any of these 6 factors in the way that they're gaining influence with us in our lives, that's when it becomes bad. But for yourself, now turn it around. When you're creating your content, how would you rate yourself on each of those 6 factors of influence? That is, how much are you reciprocating into the social community or to your followers and the people that consume your content? How much authority are you getting? How much consistency are you publishing? What social proof does that generate for you and that you can reveal to your followers? What authority do you have? And then how scarce is your time to your followers? All right, see if you can rate yourself on each of those 6 factors. Until next time, this is Mel with the Screencasting Wizard, helping you digitize your knowledge to get it online and web ready. Take care.